Hi there, my name's Annette with Sunbeam Fabric Art. Welcome to my channel. I was visiting a little quilt shop in Iowa and I found this lovely owl panel. Then I also found a little piece of fabric that I thought would make cute backing. My idea was to make some kind of table runner from these owls and then use that other fabric for the backing of the table runner. I will leave the information in my description on these fabrics, but also if you want to pause the screen here, I've got a close-up of what these two fabrics are. Well, to start, I took a look at a kit I had purchased to make a quilt as you go table runner. It's a great idea, but to retain these owls as whole pictures, this was not going to work. To make the project I envision, what I decided to do was cut 2 of the owls plus 2 more of the owls and stitch those 2 to the other 2 to make a 4 owl strip. I found a couple of pieces of batting scraps that I then stitched together to make the right size for this table runner. I needed just a little bit of extra length, so I folded my batting in half and cut just that little bit of extra that I needed. What you see me doing here is taking the batting and I am making nice straight edges on all the pieces that I'm going to be putting together. I had purchased 1 yard of this beautiful brown print for the backing of this table runner. I decided the easiest thing to do was going to be to fold this in half backwards and just stitch that one side together and open it up. Now that I had my plan in place, it was time to put the pieces together. First, I trimmed around 4 of the owls, keeping 2 together, and then I stitched to make one long strip of 4 owls. I also did like the idea of a border. I found this beautiful autumn leaves theme fabric in my stash, so I'm going to be cutting that into strips and adding a border to this table runner. With my plan completed, it's time to stitch my batting together. Now remember, I made straight edges, so all I have to do to make this batting long enough for my table runner is go ahead and stitch a straight edge to another straight edge. I'm using a zigzag stitch that's very wide and very long to join these two. All right, I'm going to speed things along here. I took my 4 owls, 2 on each side, and stitched those together. Then I started making my border similar to making binding and joined those strips. Then I joined the 2 strips of my backing. Now it's time to build my quilt sandwich, so I'm starting with my backing wrong side up. Then I'm going to put my batting on top of that. Make sure it's nice and smooth, and then I'm going to put my owl panel centered. I made sure there was enough space on both sides to add my border. Then I started pinning this panel down in place. Next, I pinned the long pieces of border right sides together on top of my owl panel, and what you see I'm doing is removing the pin underneath and using that same pin to pin the border right sides together with the owl panel. Now, we all know panels and fabric and fat quarters, those can all be a little bit wonky. So when I did the second border strip, pinning it down to the panel, you see I'm measuring from edge to opposite edge and making any adjustments I need to make so that when I stitch that 1/4 inch seam line on the border, they're going to be even. Once I had those 2 long border strips pinned into place, I went ahead and stitched those 1/4 inch seams on both sides. Before I added the end border pieces, I went ahead and pressed those long borders open nice and flat. With the border in place and pressed nice and flat, I finished stitching around the border just with straight line stitching. I did lines about 1/4 to 1/2 inch apart from each other. I just kept going around and around and around with straight lines. I decided I wanted to do some free motion quilting on the panel itself, the owl pictures. So I swapped out my foot for my free motion quilting foot. I liked the idea of just making circles on the owl pictures, so I just did a spiral into the middle and then echoed that spiral back to the outside. I used a variety of curvy and straight lines to fill in the spaces between the circles. Next, I trimmed and squared up all 4 sides of this table runner. Next, I had to decide on binding this little mini quilt, and I decided to use a black fabric. I already had some 2.5 inch strips of black cut. So I put a few of those together. I think I needed 5 2.5 times width of fabric to go all the way around this table runner. And I just put the binding on. I'll leave a link in my description to quilt finishing videos, and that will show you a little bit slower how I do my binding. Once the table runner was all done, I did throw it in the wash on cold water, delicate, and tumble dried on low. And here is a look at this finished table runner. I love the 4 owls. I love the autumn leaves theme around them as a border. If you're liking my content, I invite you to subscribe to my channel. Click that bell icon to get notified when I post new content. And as always, I really appreciate you joining me today, and I hope to see you back again real soon.